So today we have a lovely Diaboromon deck. Nathan came first in our locals. Again, big shout outs to Dungeons and Donuts. They are always treating us very well and having this was a last minute locals, which was really nice, and there was such a good turnout for it in the first place. Nathan, do you want to talk us through your deck? I actually haven't played Diaboromon myself, and I actually haven't played against it, so I know nothing about the deck.
Cool. If you like Rookie Rush and you like bricking, this is the deck for you. It does both and it's great.
Yay!
You play tokens to a stupid amount. Your rookies are really just to get you into your ultimates. In fact, the whole Digivolution line is just for that.
Yeah.
And then you're plussing off of that. So I'll get into the specifics once we go over everything. We'll start with the eggs this time.
Cool.
Just 4 Sumimon and a 5th Sumimon. The 5th Sumimon, which is this one, could literally be anything else. It doesn't really matter. It's a case of I'm playing it for the convenience that if I say it early, I can get a draw. But it has shown up at a few times of where it was inconvenient. And thankfully it didn't matter in this tournament, but it did come up in the friendlies I've been doing playtesting throughout the week.
Yeah.
And it did make an impact of where I lost those games because I only had 11k Diaboromon.
Okay. Would you not just play the 4? Would you not just play the 4 on their own and just leave out the 5th egg?
Could do. Like the pace that the deck goes at, you could reasonably get away with that. There have been games where my opponent has gone through the whole Digi-Egg deck that they have, and I haven't even gotten to my second yet. That's the pace that this deck can play at. It's very explosive.
Because if you want to see your first Unimon, the one that you play 4 of, because I guess in my Rookie Rush deck, I actually only play 4 eggs because I want to see the Upamon because I want the draw. That'd be an idea. That's it. Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, you know, it's sound logic. I just haven't started considering that properly. Although with the fucking Rookie Rush Commandramon deck I was running the last day, you think I would have. Considering I was talking so much shit about the Missymon. Anyways. So the main benefit to playing this Sumimon is the deck needs to be able to, 1, deal with threats, because you're not always going to be able to have your option cards to get over bigger monsters.
Yeah.
And 2, if you're swinging in for security, you want 1, your Diaboromon to survive, which is important. And 2, if it's a Diaboromon that gets plus security, then you definitely want him to survive so he gets all the checks. It's just such important to be able to go from 11k to a 13k. It gets over quite a lot. Even Lord Nightmon, if you can pick apart their field, you can attack over the Lightmon and put pressure on them, which is what I ended up doing there in the last game of the tournament. So we'll get into that later though.
Cool.
So we're playing 4 Caramon of the Searcher. This I think is mandatory for, because if you brick, he is one of the few ways you're going to be able to unbrick.
Okay.
There have been games where I just opened up, my opponent put me a 1 memory, I was going second. I could have played him as an egg, but I chose not to, just hard play him, and it helps cycle through the deck. It lets me see the cards I want to see, what's missing from the rest of my hand, and I can also get the errata off it, which is great, so I can effectively plus off it for free. But hit or miss.
Yeah.
Usually you can look at, say, if you play one, you miss anything useful that you want from the top of your deck, top 5, you can add another Caramon if he's there.
Okay.
You can play him again the next turn if you can afford the memory, of course. If you don't want to be, here, let me just give you like 3 memory, 2 memory for free, and you can start doing your combos. I'm looking at purple for that one, purple combo.
Yeah.
But you can chain them. So it's nice enough that you're able to consistently search, but sometimes you just won't see anything.
It happens.
I have had games where I've chained 3 Caramon, and I didn't see a single errata, and I didn't see a single ultimate.
Oh,
so, like,
no. Yeah.
Sometimes the game just wants to fuck you like that, but look, what can you do? Today it was in my favor that it didn't do that to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Next
that's fair.
up, 4 of the Draw Caramon from BT2, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So main benefit to this is if you can get into Diaboromon with a errata already established, preferably 2, but doesn't make a huge difference.
Yeah.
Caramon gives you the ability to start plussing like mad.
Okay.
In the early game, the deck is kind of slow, so that's what the few blockers that we'll be covering in a moment to help get into. But once you do get into it, this is one of the advantage pushers that you're playing, because you can go from, Jesus, you play a Diaboromon. Let's say I play into this Diaboromon, on Digivolve, get a token, and I have 2 erratas out, right? So I can suspend the 2 errata when I Digivolve into the Diaboromon. That will give me 3 tokens in total. That's 3 draws for 1 Digivolution, and I'm drawing off the Digivolution anyways.
Nice. Yes, it's a lot of draws. You're getting a lot of searching.
Fucking berserk.
That's nice.
It gets even worse if you have the Caramon underneath it. Like, the advantage just tilts so hard in your favor. It kind of becomes absurd that he's not once per turn, but the deck wouldn't work if he was once per turn. So I'm very glad he isn't. It compensates for the bricking, I suppose.
You know what? That is always nice, because I know with some decks, bricking just feels the worst. Like it feels so bad. So if you're able to get yourself out of a rut like that, that is insane. Like, that's great.
Like it's like a sharp pit in your gut you suddenly develop when you see your hand, and it's nothing. It's cost fives galore. Oh, it's a special kind of pain.
That is, yep. I know the pain all too well, unfortunately.
Oh, don't we bloody all. Hashtag yellow. But anyways, so we're playing just 3 generic rookies. I would have played 3 Agurumon for, like, I don't know, having a consistency of them, but I couldn't find my other Agurumon. They were in a box somewhere, so I just dropped the Commandramon from the D Brigade.
That's fair.
You could say I'm playing around the version 1 Omnimon, who deletes all Digimon with the same name, but like, never came up. Nobody runs it. Why would they? So whatever.
Everyone's playing Blitz Omnimon at the moment, so yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And that's a good enough matchup for me. So hands or thumbs up for that. Main reason I'm just playing the additional rookies is to try and supplement the numbers. So if I don't draw into either of these 2 guys, I at least have something to digivolve into, and I can start getting draws from there. Yeah. And even because they're cost 2 means that they're decent enough at memory choking. So it isn't the end of the world.
Great.
They're literally just there to help bulk out the deck, though. I could maybe play more, but I don't think I will. Once we get the new Karamon that gives additional attack to your tokens, I think it is, or to the Diaboromon itself, I don't know.
Okay.
I'll take these lads out, and I'll probably put him in. Yeah. Because I was very seldom just dropping these guys from the hand, so it'll make no difference to me.
Okay, very nice. Good memory chokers, I like it.
Yeah, because, you know, that's one of the best strategies you can do in the game, and every deck can reasonably do it.
And especially if they don't have a tamer, like, you're sorted.
Yes. Oh, Omnimon's Vert Defeat breaks my heart.
Oh, I know.
You get 1 tamer, and then there it goes.
Your heart.
Yep, so I was going to put out all 4, but I don't have that at 4 in this build. So Kurosarimon, BT2 I believe as well. This is one of the cards that lets you go fucking berserk. So each time you play a Digimon with the same name as the Digimon this is stacked under, you get a memory. So what that means, going back to the example I gave earlier with the Diaboromon and the 2 errata, you can effectively get your 3 tokens for free, which you do anyways. Then you get 3 memory off those 3 tokens, which will either put you back at a negative cost for the Diaboromon, because you got 3 back for the 3 Digivolution, or if you had the Infamon there, you get 3 back for a Digivolution of 2. So you're plussing super hard, or you're plussing nicely.
Yeah, like that sounds nice.
Few times, like, it can be awkward when you draw this and you don't have the rookies to digivolve into. Dropping him onto the field is 1, expensive, and 2, shattering when he does die prematurely, which is why I like playing this deck at a slower pace until it does explode. So I'm not just throwing memory at my opponent, and I'm not losing cards for no reason.
Okay, well, so note to self, play Gazimon.
Yes, actually, Gazimon, Terriermon. The deck does have ways around them, to be fair, but those are important. I didn't run into a single one of those today at all, and when my opponent did get into one of them, I was able to just get rid of it with Ultimate Flare. So it was great.
I ran into them all day today.
They digivolved over it. Oh Jesus, you
all
poor
day.
bastard.
That and the bloody Takumis. Oh my god, they just end me. It's so mean.
Yeah, that's why I wasn't playing D Brigade today. Well, one of the reasons.
It makes sense.
So then next up we have I'm only playing 3 of this guy actually.
Okay.
So his Digivolve effect is when Digivolving, you can play an errata from your hand if you don't have it.
Okay.
That's great, but I haven't had too much success seeing this guy and errata in my hand at the same time, even when I'm searching mad off of the Karamon. So what that ends up happening is I have this guy that I don't want to Digivolve into because I want to keep it for the errata, but at the same time that means then that I'm not making progress.
Okay.
So it's just kind of super frustrating. What I ended up doing was I took one of them out, and I played a copy of the Kurosarimon blocker. I'll get to that in a moment.
Okay.
But he does what he needs to do anyways. At no point did I ever feel I was particularly stuck for him.
Okay.
3 seems to be a good number, especially when you get to the top end of things and you can be drawn like nuts. You're very seldom going to not see a card that you need.
Okay, that's
I'm
handy.
not worried about having him at a ratio of 3. He worked out fine.
Great. And he's got the name. And he has the name.
He's got the name as well, which I'll actually touch on now. Let me just talk about the Kurosarimon blocker real quick. So main reason I was running this is that 1, Shanemon has a habit for me of not ending up in security. So I have to sit there, scratch my head. I have the 6 cost Digimon in my hand and I have no rookies. So I've often bricked on him. So I was like, right, this isn't good. I wanted to keep the blocker element, but I also wanted a cheaper alternative. So I went with the Kurosarimon. 1, he's an unidentified, so he'll trigger the errata for the memory. 2, he has the same name as other Kurosarimon I have in the deck. So if I end up, say, playing down a Keramon, I can get a draw off him if I hard play him.
Okay.
2, he's only a cost 4, so he's cheaper. And that's kind of it. He's a blocker, and he's quick enough to get into the graveyard. It's just more of a response to not bricking was the reason I put it in. Because if I can draw into a champion and an ultimate, and he's one of the champions, and it did come up, I can play him for relatively cheap. My opponent won't blow the fuck out of me because I didn't play down and give him 6 memory from nothing. And then if he survives, then hopefully he'll survive. Comes back to my turn, and I can digivolve into an ultimate. I can try and get something going. But like, it is 6-1. It was kind of a bit of luck on my end as well, to be fair, that when I did play him, my opponent didn't have the removal for him. And I did have the errata to try and benefit from him being a blocker.
Yeah.
But it's kind of personal taste at that point. I think if you want to take these 2 out and go back to 4 this guy, 4 Shademon, that's entirely up to you.
Yeah.
You could look at running more rookies to supplement that. It's pretty much just personal preference. I was just banking on bricking, which I did, and then I had him, so it was great.
It's very important, especially if you and your opponent brick, and then you're able to get out of the brick faster than they can.
That's it.
That's game winning material right there.
Oh yeah, that did come up a few times actually. Purple combo bricked, and I was able to unbrick myself faster than he could. I just exploded and pretty much took out all the security with one swing. I'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
But yeah, no, just having some way to navigate around bricking is so important for this deck. I'll get to the specifics of what else could be changed to help aid that, but for the moment we'll just touch on the Shademon.
Okay.
So usually you see this played at 4. As I mentioned, I hate seeing it in my hand, so I dropped it to 3, and I'd often see it in my hand, so I dropped it to 3. 6 cost is a lot to give your opponent for a blocker that can't attack.
Yeah.
And the idea is that he'd end up in security at some point, but oftentimes I wouldn't find him at security if I played him at 4, so it was just like, right, fuck it, drop him to 3, find space for something else. And if he ends up in security, grand. And he did once or twice, thankfully. I don't think it ever really mattered that he was in there, since I was able to play around my opponent with the option cards that I was drawing instead. But we'll get to those in a moment. The main reason that he's there is so that, one, I can stop my opponent's tempo if they start swinging at my security. The deck does play slow at first, or at least this build of it, which isn't that unusual from any other build. So you need something to deter your opponent from attacking, or just stop them from completely killing you. You need to have those options.
Yes.
The security needs to have something in there, because if it's just all rookies or all cheap Digimon, even a Diaboromon is in there, then you've just lost already.
Okay.
So
it makes sense now having it at 3. You don't want to see it in your hand. You more want to see it in your security than anything else. That's solid.
And if I see it at 3 in my hand during any game from here on out, I'm actually just going to eat the cards and scoop that game, because I'm not handling that shit.
That's fair.
So on to the ultimates. This is a pretty standard package from what I've seen. 3 Inframon and 3 Waramonzumon. These are literally just to try and get into the Diaboromon as quick as I can. The Inframon lets you reduce the Digivolution cost of the Diaboromon if the Inframon is in play, which is grand. Means that it's a cost 2. You can look at sliding in underneath an opponent's memory choke. If you have an errata out, say, your opponent puts you to 1 memory. The errata will at least put you to 2 then.
Yeah.
Which means that with this Inframon, you can just slide in under that, go to 0, and get your Digivolution off. It's come up several times. Like, 1 errata can really make the difference for this deck. It's absurd how much this deck depends on that card.
Okay. Or Corpse Husband, as we like to call him in our house.
What?
We call errata Corpse Husband in this house.
Corpse Husband. Wow. Corpse Husbando. Nice.
Pretty much.
That's why I was saying as well, anyone's Vort Defeat makes my soul burn, because I was playing friendlies yesterday. They got his Vort Defeat out, and they got rid of my only errata, and it was just soul destroying, especially because Vort Defeat is so cheap. Oh, it hurts.
Yeah, and you can play Vort Defeat from your security as well, I believe, right?
You can, but he doesn't get the when Digivolution delete an opponent's tamer effect, whereas they just had the tamer. It was Mastamon, that was it. It was Yellow Mastamon I was playing against. They had done all their shit with Mastamon, then dropped him, and it was like, well, I guess that's it.
Well, GG, my friends.
That's it. It's like, I would extend a virtual handshake to you, because I'm dead.
That is completely fair.
Waramonzumon, literally same case. The fact that he's a cost 5 means that you can at least mitigate the harshness of hard playing him from hand. Now, if you do hard play him, you're not going to be getting the benefits of a stack that you would with the Keramon underneath or with the Kurosariumon underneath. But sometimes you just need to get into that Diaboromon to start your game going. You might have an errata out, or you might already have tokens out, and you want to just start swinging with your promo Diaboromon. He's necessary. He is very necessary, but there's a flaw to him as well. He's treated as a puppet Digimon, not an unidentified Digimon, which means that if I am stuck for ultimates, I can play the Keramon Searcher and I can reveal the top 5, but I can't add him. So if I see him, he's worthless to me. And if I don't already have an ultimate in hand, it's super frustrating because I can't add him. I'm left there banging my head against the table trying to figure out how to improve this. What I'd say I could do in the future is, and this is a questionable decision, I could drop a Warumonzimon or 2, probably only drop the 1, and find space for dropping another card in the deck, and put in 2 of the Warp Digivolution Keramons, not Keramons, Inframons. Let's see if I have a copy here. He can Digivolve straight onto the Keramon for a cost of 4, which is expensive, to be fair.
But it's still cheaper than an on-play cost of, like, the Waru one.
And look, it's better than completely bricking anyways. And look, he's still only a Digivolution cost of 3, which means that even if you do have something in the raising area, you're free to Digivolve into him for the regular cost as the other Inframon. You're just negging yourself a memory next turn, which is not the worst. I'd rather be able to just give my opponent 1 more memory over bricking.
That's completely fair. I totally get that.
So there was one game there I was effectively just playing Rookie Rush, I think, where Keramon into Keramon into Keramon, I didn't see a single Inframon. One was in security, the remaining 3 were at the bottom of the deck. All I kept seeing was Warumonzim, and it's like, right, something has to change there because that's bullshit.
Oof. Yeah, no, that could be sore. I could totally see how that's sore.
Yes, it can be. Sure, look, for the day anyways, they worked fine. The Inframon worked perfectly. The Warumonzimon worked good. He wasn't amazing, but he was good.
But look,
he came in clutch when I needed him.
You came first, so like you're obviously doing something right. So even though the deck does have its flaws, it obviously is working very well. So I wouldn't beat your deck up too bad. I wouldn't beat it up too much.
I wouldn't either, but you know what as well? At least I'm not the poor sods who didn't brick for the whole tournament playing Lord Naimon, then got to me brick twice.
Oh yeah, that was tough.
So like the first game I had to go back and forth, so I didn't open the nuts either. But then game 2, he was just on the back foot for the whole thing, the poor bastards.
Yeah, that's fair. I saw a bit of that game. I saw a bit of that game. So.
I feel like this tournament was just super weird for bricking as well.
Yeah.
Like everyone seemed to brick.
Yeah, I think so.
So like if everyone's on my level with that, then I'm cool with that. It means I have an easier time winning. Yeah. We're playing 3 of the promo Diaboro, 4 of the Digivolve Diaboro, and 2 Armageddon. Now I'm only actually copping there now as I was sorting out the cards for this, that I was playing more of the promo Diaboro and more of the Digivolution Diaboro than I'd realized. I thought I was playing 2 of the promo and 4 of the BT5 Diaboro. Which is the ratio I probably would keep it at, but at the same time it worked today, and I did end up, like, some games I had 3 Diaboromon in my opening hand, and it's like, well, fuck me. But in and around 6 Diaboromon, maybe 7 at a most, seems to be working fine for the deck. I did have those slow starts because the deck just does that.
Yeah.
But once you can get going and you can build up your stack and raising, then you can play either of these guys. If the erratas are down, then you can just storm the game from there.
Yeah.
Like, the erratas give you tokens, which means that even if you just have this Diaboromon on his own, say, his effect is during your turn, for each Diaboromon you have in play, this Digimon gets an additional security attack +1. On his own, he's already counting for security attack +1, so he's already checking 2.
Yeah.
If you have an errata down, then you play another one, he's checking 3. And if you have your stack already down underneath them, that means you're gaining memory and you're getting a draw, mitigating his Digivolution cost, possibly entirely. If you have 2 errata, which came up several times, then what can end up happening is you can check pretty much for their whole security in the one go. And God forbid your tokens have rushed.
Wow. Okay, so that's what the deck does.
I touched on. Yes, that's not something I touched on as well. This Kurosariumon has the inheritable effect of all of the other Digimon with the same name as this Digimon get rushed. So you
Wow.
can, at its best, at best that I've seen it today anyways, I had 3 erratas down, which means that I was not stuck for memory. I'm starting on at least 4 every turn, and my opponent is usually playing cards with a higher cost to try and get around my board, meaning I was easily starting with 4 or higher.
Yeah.
I have these tokens. I have this in a stack, Digivolve up into whatever, and then Digivolve into Diaboromon. It doesn't even matter which one in particular, but this one was especially mean to do it on. Digivolve into him, get 3 memory or 3 tokens off of the errata, and then those tokens of rush, he's checking for 4. No, he's actually checking for 5 at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, the opponent needs to have a blocker or they just lose, but even then if they have a blocker, they're still losing a considerable amount of their security.
Yes.
So
Wow.
it's actually berserk when this deck explodes, because you just get so much free shit. Like, you can easily win, if not in one turn. You can not OTK your opponent in the one turn, then the next turn you usually can pin the game.
Wow, that's insane.
Just for how berserk this deck can go. And God forbid you're playing this shit. Instead of playing the Diaboromon security attack, you play this lad instead, and you have the rush underneath him. You play your 3 tokens, 4 if you have the 3 erratas down, including himself.
Wow.
Then you can swing into security 1 at a time, and your opponent's blocker isn't really mitigating that much. Probably end up, what I've seen today is blocking the Diaboromon at the end, is what I saw them doing today, instead of blocking any of the tokens, which I thought was interesting.
Okay.
Because they could at least get rid of a body on board, and if they could get anything bigger, then they could, swing over the Diaboromon, or the Diaboromon could just straight up die swinging into security. You could at least guarantee a kill,
Yes,
but
of
they
course.
kept blocking the Diaboromon, which I thought was interesting.
Okay.
At least with the promo, you have no choice. You have to block that or you're gone.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird
It's
interaction.
a funny one. It's a funny
The
one.
deck has a strange fear factor to it. In that your opponent, you could blow up at any second if given just slightly too much memory.
Yep.
And you can just go nuts from there. So I think that did affect what the opponent was doing. Sure, look, 'tis what it is.
It worked.
Armageddon. It worked, yeah. He's great because if you attack with a token and it survives, you can play him down. He's a 15k. He's almost impossible to get off of the board by conventional means. Your opponent has to commit either a lot of memory in a single card to remove it, or they need to, like if it's Lord Nightmon, they need to play a Nightmon, play a Starmon, and then play a Digivolve into a, and I can't remember his name. Sword Untitled? What's his name?
Slash Untitled.
Slash, that's it.
Yes.
They need to commit so much to get rid of it. And then as well, he just completely wins the Blitz matchup for me.
Yep.
Against Shoutmon.
Wow.
Because they can't clinch that game by Digivolving into Omnimon and then blitzing into you directly for game. They can't do that with this on board.
Yeah.
And he's just a huge threat. It scares your opponent. Your opponent has to figure out what the hell they have to do with it. So that's why I liked playing it at 2. 1 is fine, you can do it if you want. I just found that I preferred having this consistent kind of disruption and threat throughout the deck.
Yeah.
I didn't really ever brick with him. So, he's only at 2. I only ever saw 1 of them in my hand in the opening at any given time. So he's not as bad as Shademon or Diaboromon. So I think 2 is a comfortable ratio to be at. He's not just a clinch, you might draw it and you can just sack the game. He's an actual threat to be dealt with.
He's something that you have to you have to deal with it if it's on board. You can't just ignore it and try and swing over it. It's just one of those things. Yeah. Very nice.
That's it. So it was top tier. Absolutely loved Armageddon. Won several games for me. He is a gent.
We'll keep him so.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's very few ratios that actually change. Maybe just take out one of the promo Diaboromons, maybe, or drop one of the Digivolution Diaboromons.
Yeah.
The deck is so dependent on the rest of your setup, on what you have for your stack, and if you have your erratas out, that it doesn't especially matter which Diaboromon you Digivolve into at the end of the day, really.
Yeah.
They're just there to try and get you more resources off of the rest of your stuff, off of your stack, or off of your erratas. 6 and 1/2 dozen the other, I suppose, as long as you're playing at least 6 and see them with some consistency, then you're good to go.
Wow. Okay. Well, sounds good. Like I said, I've never seen this deck before. I haven't played it or played against it, so it's very interesting for me.
Well, you're going to see why I'm so comfortable with Rookie Rush now in a second.
Okay.
So
go for it.
3 Catastrophe Cannon, 3 Ultimate Flare, and 4 Errata. I've already spoken pretty much about how important Errata is for the deck. Being able to get another token off the Diaboromon Digivolution gives you more value, which can get you more memory or more draws. Being able to not get memory choked is so important because at the very least, to get into a Diaboromon, you would probably need 2 memory.
Yeah.
Now, in some fringe cases, your opponent could leave you on 1. And if you have enough Diaboromon on board, like they leave you on 1, you have the Kurosariumon, memory Kurosariumon, and you digivolve into this Diaboromon.
Yeah.
You can end up going back to 0 because you play the Diaboromon, get the token, gain a memory, go back to 0. But that's such a tight position to be in because what else are you going to do from there on in? Like,
true.
Whereas with these, you at least have the benefit of 1 more memory and 2 flooding the board with possibly rush tokens. It can go berserk, really.
Yeah.
It can go berserk.
Wow.
Then the option cards, Catastrophe Cannon and Ultimate Flare. Both of these are meant to be just completely disruptive. The Catastrophe Cannon de-digivolves by 2 and has the added benefit if I control a Diaboromon, I get another token, which is great. Means more advantage, more memory, more draws,
tokens for days,
more tokens to rush with. It does pop up sometimes a bit too early and you need to proc it. Like it'll show up as a top card in security, say, or you'll draw it in your opening hand. Sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and realize you probably won't get your Diaboromon token off it at that early stage in the game.
Yeah.
But you need to disrupt your opponent.
Of course, yeah.
There was one game my opponent was digivolving, building up a stack so they could go into a Lord Nightmont. They had an Angelwomon there. I was like, that is hazardous to my health.
Yeah.
So let me drop the Catastrophe Cannon, de-digivolve it back down to would have been a Lotmon because they were still only on the Angelwomon. And then they don't nearly have as much pressure to put on board.
Yeah.
So there are times when you just have to drop it from hand and not get the token to ensure that you can get to your mid to late game of where you can explode and close things up.
I suppose if you just see the token as a little bit of extra, then it's not as bad.
Yeah. Like it's actually super nice. Nice little combo that I like doing is you have your stack already established with your Diaboromon. He has the memory Kurosariumon underneath. You are at 3, you're at 0 or more memory. You play that, 4 cost, put your opponent to 4 or fewer, and then you gain the token or you gain the memory off of the Kurosariumon inheritable. So you're either A, matching their memory tamer, so you're not losing any advantage there at all, or losing any memory, or 2, they don't have either of those things. So in one case, I was on 2 memory, digivolved Diaboromon, went through all my plays, played that at the end, still on 2 memory, left them at 2 memory themselves. Then I got a token after it. I gained 1 memory, put them at 1. They had lost their huge stack and they were memory choked. It was painful for them, but I won the game, so like I can't complain.
Yeah, no, it seems like it's definitely a winning condition for sure.
For all of the hassle that Digivolution has gotten over this last while because it's never had any proper punch, this is finally a Digivolution card that actually does something.
Yeah.
It can be timely, it's cheap, it doesn't need to target a level 7 or cost play 7 or lower to actually work.
Yeah.
Baboongamon is shit. And you get a token off of it, meaning that it's helping to further your game state instead of not only just disrupting your opponent. So it's quite good. I don't think I'd play it at any more than 3. Maybe at 4 at most, depending on the rest of the deck and the changes that come in. But no more than 7 option cards. I think that's fine.
That's fair.
Now, Ultimate Flare. This is the thing that makes Rookie Rush cry, right? Unless it's Yellow Rookie Rush and they have their Bushiagus and their Salamons, in which case you cry.
Oh,
so
that's
how
me.
It works is de-digivolve 3 on one of your opponent's Digimon, so that's an entire stack gone, depending on how they've done it. And then after that, you delete all of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 3 or less.
Oh no.
Yep.
Oh wow. That is a good card.
It is stupid. Like, I played at 3 because I kept seeing in my opening hand too much, and it wasn't doing enough. Seeing it, I like more than 2 in my hand. So it was literally like, right, just for consistency, I need to drop this down to 3. And it worked out fine for me. You see in the security stack every now and then, in addition to the errata you might see, in addition to the catastrophe cannons you might see, in addition to the shade mons you might see, there's plenty that you can load in this build with the security stack with. And it makes your opponent almost hesitant to either A, build up a board, or B, attack at all, which gives you more time to build up your stack and then take the game.
It's a really solid deck, and Ultimate Flare is a scary card.
Yeah, it's honestly, despite only playing it at 3, I love the card. I would not put it to 4 because I don't want a brick.
Yeah.
But it's just so handy because, like, if you weigh it up against how much memory your opponent has put into their board versus how much you have to spend, my opponent had a stack there of, it was an egg, Lockmon, Terrorymon. I think it was some other ultimate. It didn't really matter. Wargroundmon. They didn't. No, it was the Angelwomon, and then they got into a Lord Knightmon. That's some approximate what? 1, 3, and 3. So about 7. And they didn't get to attack with the Lord Knightmon.
Yeah.
So it means they didn't proc it, which means that they pretty much lost their whole board presence.
Oof.
And like, for -1 memory of getting rid of such a huge threat, even if they did summon something, if it was weak enough, then that could have covered it as well, like a Lopmon or Patamon.
Yeah, and of course, once you destroy
once
you destroy a security stack, it's going to be very hard for them to build up the exact same security stack. They just might not have the cards.
That's it. Yeah. But you need to be hella careful. 8 memory is a lot to give your opponents.
It is, yeah.
I have lost because I just played this at a bad time.
Yeah.
And my opponent just rebuilt their board and went nuts. It was like, okay, that was my fault.
Look, these things happen, and it's all a learning process anyway. So that's great. And that's the deck.
That's the gist of it. I suppose I'll touch on the errata for a brief moment and the times when I used it. So usually most people would be going nuts to try and resolve this Kurosariumon, Digivolve into it, and then it's when Digivolving effect, play an errata from hand. Don't ever be afraid to just hard play this from your hand.
Yeah.
It will benefit you immensely in the long run. Okay. Not being memory choked is reason number 1. Reason number 2 is you're going to be able to get more value off your Diaboromons, especially if you're hard drop a 1 or 2. This card is fucking scary for the opponent, and if they don't realize it is, then you're going to be sprinting away with the match pretty bloody soon if you can get into the rest of your stuff. You know, provided you don't brick.
Yeah, of course.
Like 3 cost is nothing for a memory that puts, or for a tamer that puts in as much work as errata does. You just need to get to that mid game and you'll be fine, which is why you're running so many bombs for the security stack. Like Shademon and so on and so forth.
I like that term. I like it's a bomb for your security stack. That's cute.
Well, that's how it works, though.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your deck with us.
The deck.
That's great.
You're very welcome, as always.
I appreciate it.
I'm very proud to have been on your channel with a deck profile twice now.
Yeah, no, you're doing really well, and I like the fact that everybody in locals as well keeps changing up their decks and giving me new content. I appreciate that a lot.
It's not like 3 weeks in a row. Hey guys, we're back with Lord Knightmon again.
We're back with Lord Knightmon. Here we go again, Lord Knightmon. No, it's good. It's really good. I appreciate it, and absolutely, like, this is a great deck. It's something, again, I haven't come across before myself. Just out of chance, I guess nobody's really playing it because the Diaboromons are quite expensive. Probably is one of the big reasons.
Yeah, I got pure lucky. I'd originally bought 2 of them on eBay for 80. That was 40 each. Yeah. And then I pulled 2 Diaboromon promos from my packs, my tamer packs.
Nice.
So I was like, you know what? Great.
May as well.
Look, I wanted to play them at 4. I had the chance now.
It was calling out to you, in fairness. Do you want to shout anyone out before you head off and play your other games for today?
Shout outs to Stephen for bricking and giving me first place.
Poor Stephen.
poor Stephen. My heart bends for the poor man. If I may also be cheeky and plug my art again.
Absolutely.
That would be absolutely wonderful. In fact, what's great now is that I have a reference right in front of me to show.
It's a beautiful mat.
Beautiful, beautiful mat. Yes, this is my work. It is amazing, isn't it? Yes, you should commission me. Haha.
How can we commission you?
Oh, well, if you go onto your computers, right, and you hack your way into either Facebook or Instagram by changing the URL code, this is super secret stuff now. Don't let the government know you're doing this. You can reach out to me at Ruled Hand Art at pretty much any platform out there. Any social media, that is. So the Facebook is there, the Twitter is there, the Instagram is there. Usually most active on the Instagram and the Facebook. So if you're looking to commission me or you just want to browse about, by all means, just send a message or find me there.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to send people your way anyway if I hear that. And thanks again for coming on, and enjoy the rest of your games for the evening.
And enjoy the rest of your day as well, my friend.
Okay. Bye now.